Hi, I'm Danny. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to go over the heating, air conditioning, and ventilation system on my 8th generation Honda Civic. The same concept's going to work for many other makes and models. Today, I want to focus on the recirculation system, the button, the actuator, the ducting, and how to diagnose it. If your air doesn't blow out the correct vent, let's say you put it to the windshield and it blows out the floor, or maybe it doesn't change at all. That's going to be a separate video, and I'll put a link to that in the description. Also, if your air conditioner is blowing warm, or maybe your heater is blowing cold air, that could be a stuck actuator, and I'll put a link to that video in the description. If the recirculation button is not on, fresh air or outside air will come into your cabin. It'll go through the cabin air filter and then it comes out your vents. Once you push the recirculation button, it closes off the outside air and it recirculates the cabin air. One of the main complaints that I hear on the recirculation system is outside air constantly comes in while you're driving, even if the recirculation button is pushed. And that could be the door not closing all the way, or a stuck or bad actuator. And that's what we're going to cover today. There's only one code associated with the recirculation system, and that's going to be code 7, a control unit internal error. If you need to know how to pull codes from your HVAC control head, I'll put a link to that video in the description. All right, so go ahead and drop the glove box down. Push both sides inward. And this is where your cabin filter is. So if you look here on the right side of the dash, this is where your recirculation actuator is. The actuator that controls the hot and cold, that's going to be near your gas pedal on the left-hand side. The actuator that controls which vent the air comes out, that's going to be on the left side of the glove box. And the actuator that controls the recirculating, that's on the right side. So if I push the recirculation button, you can see the linkage moving. And if I take off the recirculation, the linkage moves the opposite way. And that's how this is supposed to work. So let's go ahead and remove our cabin filter. Now once I push the recirc button, that flap closes off outside air, and now you're recirculating the air that's in the cabin. Now if I push that recirc button again to take it off, the flap opens, and now outside air is coming inside the cabin. Here's a view from inside the air distribution box. Push the recirc button, the flapper closes off outside air, now you're recirculating the cabin air. Push the recirc button again, it'll open the flapper to outside air. This air is going to get filtered through the cabin filter. The recirculation system's pretty easy to diagnose. So I'm going to turn off the key. I'm going to disconnect the connector. I've got the connector disconnected. I've got the key on. I've got my meter on the voltage scale, and the red lead is on the purple wire. There's only 3 wires in this connector. It's purple, red, and orange. Red lead is on the purple, and put the common lead on the orange here, and I push the recirc button. I should get 12 volts or battery voltage on the meter, and I do. If I take the recirculation button off and touch it, I get 12 volts on the middle wire or the red wire. So I'm getting powers and grounds on that connector, so the actuator should be working. If it's not, it needs an actuator. Now to get this off, there's a screw here, there's a screw here, and there's one on the back side here. There's 2 ways to replace the recirculation door actuator. There's the right way and the wrong way. I'm going to show you the right way. The wrong way, I did this when I replaced my expansion valve, but you're going to remove the whole blower assembly. I'll put a link to that video in the description and at the end of the video. But we're going to do it the right way, so let's get started. I need to remove the sill plate and the kick panel. That'll give me just enough room to get in here and remove the recirculation screws that are holding on the actuator. Let's get our glove box back up. And you just want to grab at the bottom, pull up, just like that. So what it has is little clips right here, and then there's clips right here. And these are the clips that stayed in the sill panel. So we're going to just pop those out right now. One. And then there's two. So this is just going to pop out also. Get your finger in there. And then that's out. Open back up the glove box. Now I'm going to use a 7mm on a small ratchet, and I'm not going to go in this way. I'm going to go in from underneath. These screws are actually pretty long, and this whole process took about 2 minutes. Now the second screw, this one's even tighter. It probably took another 2 or 3 minutes to get this one out, but be patient. It's definitely doable though. Once the final screw is completely removed, the actuator will pretty much just fall off. If you look at the actuator, that tab or nipple on the arm, that needs to line up with the slot on the linkage when you install this. Before you install the new actuator, you need to make sure that linkage is free and not binding. Make sure it'll go from the fully closed position to the fully open position. To install the actuator, line up the linkage and then the bolt holes. Get your 7mm and start them by hand. Repeat this process for the other 2 screws. I ended up taking out the full glove box, and you should too. It made it a lot easier. Let's plug in the actuator and let's test it. Okay, so recirc on. Goes in, shuts it all the way. Checking it. Turn the recirc off. Opens up to fresh air. Turn the recirculation button back on. The glove box, I'll just put this in, latch it, then I'll go underneath and put the 2 bolts in. So here's bolt 1, and here's bolt 2. Reinstall the kick panel, and reinstall the trim. And we're done. I hope you learned something in today's video. I'll put links to the parts I used and any tools I used in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.